This is Nikki. Nikki is calling in from Oregon. Nikki, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hey, I just wanted to call in. The folks in the live chat encouraged me to call in, so I guess I have a unique perspective. So,
okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for having me on your show.
Of course. Yeah. Just the prompt. What I see here from the call screener description was that you were a lifelong atheist, and now you're a Messianic Jew, and you wanted to kind of talk about that. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, I mean, so I used to listen to shows. And I still do. I listen to Matt Dillahunty. I love Cosmic Skeptic. I love the dialogues, and I love my atheists, because I was atheist for so long. If I had wanted a God, which I absolutely did not, the very last one I would have chosen would have been Jesus, because I was raised Jewish, and so we kind of have a bias against him. But things happen. So I was rooted in the scientific method, and so I really followed the science and believed it. But one of the things that I didn't do, and when I came to faith, I never really wanted to search it out. And the entire time I did the research, I never wanted it to be true. Okay, I don't believe in any gods. I think that's a bunch of BS. I just think all gods are fictional, and even Jesus was fictional. Of course, I found out that, most scholars think that he actually existed. Whether or not he was God was another matter. But so I started, I guess I had to examine my own scientific method and look at, well, am I coming at this with any bias? And I think I did. I think I didn't look at the sources that said anything different than me, and I would mock them. And so until I got to the point, well, let me be humble, because it's about truth, and truth is always true. And I'm not always true. I don't always know the truth, but let me just seek it. Whether I agree with it or not, it's still going to be true. So that was my starting point. Okay. And I started to do the research, and it was really, really painful. The entire time I was like, this is not true. I don't want to believe this. And, the thing is that belief doesn't determine truth. I mean, we can believe whatever kind of craziness we want. Sure. We can believe in whatever kind of gods we want, and they may not be true, because absolute truth is very, very exclusive. It excludes anything that is not absolutely true. So all religions, including atheism, and I'm not saying atheism is a religion, but it's a worldview, right? It's a view on the nature and function of reality. And so I include that in there. All those claims of truth or absolute truth are,
Nikki,
not all of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely
I
true.
appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Let me just finish in a second. So only one of those claims can be true. Either none of them are true. This is just logic. Either none of them are true. All of them can't be true, because only absolute truth is absolutely true, or one of them is true. And so I was like, oh, crap. And so what do I do? So I can study, and I did. I looked at Islam. I looked at...
Let me stop you if I may. I'm interested in your process, but we don't have time for the entire process. Can you give me your destination? You have determined what, and why do you think it?
So I had... okay, there are two things. We're in a post-truth world where... truth is kind of relative. Like, how I feel determines my reality. Like, if I feel like a man, I can be a man. If I feel like a cat, I can be a cat. I can be whatever I claim. And so that's experiential. But I found this disconnect in logic. And so if I say experientially, I've experienced God, and I have this external proof in evidence, in history, in logic, in science, that I've got these proofs, but it's also experiential. In addition to that, then I'm told I'm not true. So I'm like, what? Let me look at this. And so it wasn't just my experience. I did have an experience. I did, but that's what impelled me to look at the research. So I had this experience. I'm like, bullshit. I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't.
Let's talk about that.
And so then I had to go through all this research, and in the meantime, thinking it can't be this. I mean, I don't want God to exist, and Jesus is definitely not the one.
You had a process. You know it's difficult. You know that not all of them can be true. What do you think is true, and why? In a nutshell.
I commend you for your ability to say, I'm not sure about this thing. Let me look more into it, and kind of doing that. That's a process that a lot of people choose not to do. So I can commend you for that. But what we're really interested in is we want to know the reasons. So you have this belief now.
Oh yeah.
And we want to know why.
What's the belief? I don't even know what the belief is.
Yeah.
Well, so my first rule of thumb in seeking truth was truth is always true, and I follow it no matter what. No matter what I believe, no matter what I think, truth will always be true. And so I followed the evidence. And so what I had done before as an atheist was kind of like mock the
Nikki,
any kind of religion.
Nikki. Listen.
Nikki, yes.
Listen.
Yes.
We love you. I'm really glad that you're sharing your story with us. But unfortunately, this show is really focused on the hows, what's, and whys. We want to know the details, specifics. What do you believe? Why do you believe it? We want to talk about that stuff.
I believe that Jesus is telling the truth when he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I do.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. But
why? Let's talk about why. What convinced you? What convinced you of that?
I had to do the research. I took 5 years to look at the scientific evidence, the historical.
What was the evidence?
Archaeology.
Can we talk about the evidence?
It's so vast that it's
give me your best one
of evidence. I think.
Give me your best one. Let's talk about that.
Okay. No, let me finish. Don't cut the conversation, please. I'm your guest, and let me speak what I need to speak.
We've given you plenty of latitude. There are plenty of other callers in the queue. I think what we're trying to do is hone things down.
Yeah.
Give me one piece of evidence that you have found to prove Jesus Christ. We're very curious.
Okay, you have to do the research. You have to be open-minded. You have to look at the accumulation of evidence. There will not just be one thing that will say, oh, yes, that's it. You have to look at the accumulation of evidence, just like a legal case, just like a court case. You have to look at all the evidence. And so there isn't just one that I can point to. I can point to the logic of it.
Look, if you're in a court case and someone brings Exhibit A, and then Exhibit B, C, D, E, F, you still have an Exhibit A. Can you bring me an Exhibit A? One piece of evidence. I'd like to know what you have discovered, something specific.
Let me start just so I was an atheist and I didn't believe in God. So that's where I had to start. Is there a creator or not? So I had to start there. And that was the fundamental piece. And then I got eventually to Jesus. But you have to go through the first one if you're an atheist, I do believe. So you have to look at logically, is there a creator or not? And that's where you start. And you look at it logically, and you move on. Yeah. I guess that would be it. So look at the logic.
Just look at the logic. But I haven't heard the logic. What is the logic? Why? Why should I believe?
Okay, so Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Okay, we all know that, right? What is he talking about? Is he talking about one truth among many, or is he talking about the truth? And I think it's wrong of us to say he's one truth among many. So he's talking about absolute truth, right?
Nikki, I have to interrupt. I'm sorry. I can't let I can't let this be a book. We have to, keep this as a dialogue here. I feel like we're asking some pretty specific questions here. You've said that you had this journey, and I respect that. And there's a cumulative case that you want to make. Okay. A cumulative case that you think led you to the conclusion that you've come to. And in order for us to go through that case, we got to go through, like Seth said, Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. We got to examine some stuff here. Okay, I know Jesus said a thing in the Bible. I still don't believe it. I want to know why I should believe it when he says he's the Son of God or that there is a God.
Okay, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm being talked over, and so I want to give you the respect to speak, but let me give you this. The first thing that an atheist has to do is question his worldview, and I never did. I always thought I was right. I always thought my worldview was right. I never looked at the logical underpinnings. So either there is truth and there is absolute truth, and if Jesus is claiming to be that, then I need to look at that. And so I separated Jesus out because I thought he was fictional, and I started with the logic. That's where I started. That's point.
What's the logic?
A.
Can we talk about the logic?
The logic is, okay, yes. If you'll let me finish my proof, I will be happy.
Nikki, I've given you so much time. Like, I don't know. I feel like we've been asking this over and over again. What's the logic? What should we believe?
Talking over me. I'm trying to explain that absolute truth is absolutely true.
That doesn't mean anything to me. That doesn't.
Finish.
No, I'm not going to let you finish, Nikki. I'm sorry. I'm going to drop this call because we've been talking for what, like 10 minutes now. And look,
I think we get where she's coming from. She spent most of the time talking about it's a difficult process. It's a process. It's a process. It's a process.
Yeah.
But, then she begins quoting Jesus. She quotes out of the book of John. Who wrote the book of John? I would wager she doesn't know because nobody knows. There's obviously a leap that she made from the creator with a capital C into a specific God with a proper name.
Yeah.
And, I think we tried to narrow that, what's your evidence? And I think we tried multiple times in good faith. I don't think she was unfairly spoken over. I think we were just trying to focus her on a show where there were so many other callers in the queue. I'm guessing those in the chat would agree. You and I gave her a lot of rope.
I'm not trying to be stepping on people's toes or anything, but we asked several times, okay, what's the evidence? What's the reason? And instead, what I heard was, you atheists need to approach it from this way because I didn't do this. Yeah. And a little bit of projection saying, I think none of these other people are doing it either. Right. I mean, that's what I got out of it.
It's strange, too, to quote Jesus to prove Jesus would be like quoting Muhammad to prove Muhammad, quoting Spider-Man to prove Spider-Man. We've heard that analogy before.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't get to the root of how do you get there? What is the evidence? And if you say, well, there's so much evidence, look at the research, look at the proof.
It's not convincing me.
Yeah, you can't get specific because anyone of any belief system, platform, opinion, whatever, could say this sort of conveniently nebulous thing, something where the goalposts are always in motion. You haven't demonstrated anything. And I think, if we ask for one piece of evidence, give me Exhibit A, give me Exhibit Z, just give me one thing. And we get nothing. I think we have to move on.
Yeah, we do. If I was to convince somebody that the COVID-19 vaccinations that are out there are effective, I wouldn't just say, oh, well, it's just so much. Yeah, I'd say,
do your research,
here's a study or something. You pull something out. You don't just say, because that doesn't convince anybody. And it shouldn't. A statement like that shouldn't.